I'd just like to specifically address the question from the lady on the front about disability, please, and also the cost to government. The reason I'm so passionate about the King Alfred Ice Rink project is that I myself have cerebral palsy. I'm very lucky in that I can walk and talk. And ice skating is a low-impact exercise, and I'm very passionate about involving all members of all abilities in the community, for everybody to join together as a community and enjoy what is a fun, brand new thing to the city, very much overdue, and something we can all have a lot of fun in. And there will be no cost in our project to the government. As I said, Julie Chantre, who is President of the Brighton and Hove Chamber of Commerce, has put together a viability study and the proposition for raising £1.2 million, which actually I believe is a relatively low cost, considering we have visitors in Brighton and of course the Brightonians and the homes themselves, the residents themselves. Thank you.
Just to respond to the lady on the balcony first. In terms of funding, we sold one small residential site and used the money from that to carry out remediation on the site. We sold a slightly larger residential site. We were lucky to sell it at the top of the market, and that paid for the swimming pool and leisure water. We approached another developer who needed a small area for retail, which was off our site, but we did a deal with them whereby they funded our temporary ice rink. And the final developer, the one who's delivering a twin-pad ice rink, Snowdome, is doing that on the back of the money they will make from bars, restaurants and the hotel that they're proposing to put on the site. That's why it's important, I believe, to have someone from the private sector involved in the steering group that's setting the parameters and the priorities for this. It's to make sure you get that balance right. It's partly commercial funding leisure, but it's important too to pick the right leisure activities. So I know, for instance, ice rinks do make money. The temporary ice rink on the site I was working on cleared is a temporary rink, and it made £500,000 a year in net profit. The swimming pool on the site unfortunately needs a subsidy of slightly more than £500,000 a year. But as long as you balance facilities so that you get some facilities that do make money, some that don't, then that always helps the business case. On the inclusivity agenda, for the last 5 years that I've worked on projects, we've always produced very detailed access statements, and inclusivity for me, it does include people who have mobility issues, people who are blind or partially sighted. It also includes mothers with prams, and I'm told even by my inclusivity expert that he has to take account of people who are stressed out. Something I'm occasionally very thankful for. On this site, just one other thing which has cropped up, which is the phasing of the site and continuity of provision on the site. I've had a look at it in very general terms, and I think that the way the site is laid out lends itself to making sure that we can continue to have a swimming provision on the site, possibly some of the other leisure facilities continuing. So I think that it's big enough to accommodate a 50-metre pool. I think we can continue to provide swimming while that's being delivered, and that's certainly the way we would approach it. I'm not second-guessing. I'm not suggesting that you go directly to city partnerships and say, build us a 50-metre pool. One of the other panellists here has been talking about O2 procurement procedures, and we'd be delighted to take part in that sort of process, because I think we've got a very strong case, and we stand a good chance of being the selected developer.
If you just hang on a second, let the chairman come back. I was just going to say, to all those people developers who didn't mention it, is bowling something that is so cost non-effective that it's not going to be considered in your plans?
I haven't ruled anything out at all.
Forgive me, I thought I was sort of trying to tie everything in, and I probably didn't specifically mention Bowling Green. I mean, I know with the carriage scheme, Yeah, no, I know with the carriage scheme that they actually planned to move the bowling green and relocate it, didn't they? That might be something that we'd have to work out and discuss. Otherwise, it's certainly something that it's not going to be, with the proposal that we're putting forward, it's not going to be something that's in our hands to decide. It's something that the local community decides as to how it's going to work, and it's ultimately down to the local authority to decide whether it's viable for them to include that within the final scheme.
No, I think I said this has to be a blend of facilities that make money and facilities that cost money. I know bowling makes money. It will obviously appear on the list, and when the steering committee comes up with this list of priorities, I would have thought it would be there close to the top.
Well, just move on to get some more opinions from the audience, please. Can we get we're going to try and go all the way we can, as much as we can. Can we come down to the front and zigzag back, and we'll get as many as we can in at one go.
If you need to put in between 400 and 450 residential units to support any development, what do you then do to support that, the infrastructure in the city that's already straining, absolutely straining?
Hello, my name's Jo. I'm a swimming instructor. I'm Brighton born and bred, and I'm also a British swimming official. I travel around the country doing competitions and disqualifying people for not doing it right. But I'd just like to reiterate Diane's point down the front, and everybody else that's disability and mentally and physically disabled, that swimming is one of the best things that they can do, not ice skating, I'm sorry Emma, but it's really not. It's very high impact. Swimming is low impact. And also the point for a 50 metre pool, not 25 metre pool, makes the point that there's a lot more money involved because of the competitions that you can run there. If it's an 8 lane, not a 6 lane like Splash Point, an 8 lane swimming pool, 50 metre. At the moment, as a swimming instructor, I have to travel 50 miles a day to work at K2 to earn a decent wage because there are no jobs down here for decent swimming instructors. I specialise in adult swimmers, so all those generations of people that missed out on school swimming in the 50s and 60s and 70s. I teach them to swim, and I do, we do at K2 a very good job at doing that, and because it's so good, we've set up a wellbeing clinic in Crawley where people don't go to their doctors, they don't get medication for their illnesses, all sorts of illnesses, arthritis and stuff like that, but they send them to us, we teach them to swim, they lose weight, get rid of their arthritis, all sorts of things happen, and it's all good. So the point for a 50 metre pool rather than a 25 metre pool is 100% much better. And we desperately need one. Brighton has the oldest swimming club in the country, on the seafront, beautiful, and we haven't got one, so please, 50 metres.
I have to agree with that. Can we keep going back down the next hand up on that way down? Down at the back, 2 ladies at the back down there.
Thank you for the time to ask this. Currently, I weekly hire the ballroom suite from the King Alfred, so I'm generating alone nearly £20,000 income for the council, and I would dearly love a very, very beautiful ballroom to remain in place, please.
Thank you for that. And actually, somebody who can't be with us here today emailed me that exact question this morning, saying, can we have a ballroom as well? Was the lady next to you the same question, was it? Okay, thank you. Gentleman with the lady behind, gentleman, and then the gentleman with the glasses after that. Just the lady. Yeah.
Hi. I've been all over Europe, and mostly now the parking is underground. I keep hearing that you're going to build a multi-storey car park on the seafront, which will be an eyesore. Why can't it go underground like all over Europe? And even under, for example, the bowling greens next door, you could spread underground, no problem at all. It's not going to affect the bowling greens or the tennis courts.
It was originally under.
Thank you for that. When you say you're going to build, I'm not building anything. So it's the council proposals, and we're going to put those. And just so as my position is absolutely clear, one of the things I thought was terrible about the previous scheme was the immense lack of parking on the site and the lack of service provisions, which is one of the earlier questions, and both of those absolutely must be taken into account. The gentleman with the glasses on his head just behind you there.
Yes, I'm a member of the King Alfred Bowling Club, and at the moment it leaks like a sieve. It would kill two birds in one stone if we were to put the ice rink on top of the bowling club. That would make a lot of sense. We have dry rinks and they have their ice skating.
So we'll all through at the same time. The gentleman there, yes. Yeah, sure.
Just very quickly, because I noticed there's a gentleman also on to speak across the road path. Yes, about the Hove Place development near the station, that would be the logical place to have high-rise buildings or possibly accommodation. I think that we're talking about the life and soul of Hove here, that the King Alfred Centre is the heart of the community, and we can't overdevelop this area. This area is for us, for our enjoyment, our recreation, for our families, and that's what we should think about. So keep the door together.
I actually agree with we'll definitely bring that to the council. The gentleman over there with the red jumper.
Yes, hello. I'm Nigel Rose. I live in Regency Square, and recently I read the Brighton Council Seafront Strategy, and remarkably there is no public transport strategy within that seafront strategy. There is nothing to link Hove Lagoon all the way through to Saltdeep Needle, no public transport service. There are buses, of course, along the seafront, but nothing to link it directly. So I would have thought with 8 million visitors coming to Brighton each year, it is really rather important to get some of them to come this way to King Alfred Leisure Centre in its existing form, let alone new development.
Thank you for that. And absolutely, there's a very innovative proposal to take people from the marina right the way through to the lagoon. We're not discussing that here today, but there is a very good facility that could be put in place and would be excellent to complement the King Alfred's. Thank you for that.